So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the Guardian writing an article. It's soul destroying. Lorry drivers face hours stuck in queues at Dover. So either side of the border, it's looking very, very bad. Emergency traffic controls, the TAP, that's what they call it, TAP, triggered 20 times this year already, and we're barely into February. That's scary, isn't it? This article written on the 3rd, so 20 times would be just in January, I'd assume. And I feel for these lorry drivers. I really do, because a lot of them might want to come back here. A lot of them will not want to come back here. So, talking about this gentleman here, his lorry loaded with British Airway aircraft parts. Ivo, again, the pronunciation's not going to go well. Hardelik was expected to drive on a ferry heading to Calais before delivering his cargo to the outskirts of Paris. So he hasn't got the longest drive in the world to get to. He's just going to France, but he's going to face hours wait. 1 hour's wait, multiple hours waiting in the queue. He says, but there's a problem with the customs paperwork, and the 26-year-old HGV driver from the Czech Republic, shouts out the Czech Republic, will have to park up near the port of Dover with the haulage company while the haulage company sorts everything out. So he's not even taking agri-foods, he's taking airplane parts. Like, that's rough. Like, paperwork problems, not his fault. He's going to have to wait there until it's sorted. From the new year, it's gotten a lot worse with the paperwork. We'll call him Ivo just because I don't butcher his surname as much. Ivo, we'll call him Ivo. Said, clutching a handful of documents, he usually visits Dover 5 times a month, bringing goods between Britain and the EU. And I would not be surprised if that number goes down, maybe to 2 or 3 a month, because it's not going to be worth their time to wait in these queues like this. Ivo expects to wait for hours before setting sail. Long queues of lorries built up once again on the approach roads to Dover, with as many as 100 vehicles waiting on the A20. The sheer volume of HGVs meant the town's temporary traffic management system, TAP, was activated twice on Wednesday, once at 5 a.m. and again at midday. Twice in one day. That's how bad the situation is. Lorries heading for the port were required to stay in the left lane, so it'd be this lane here, of the A20 dual carriageway, because of the fact that if they were allowed into both lanes, it's going to block up the whole road for civilians, lorry drivers, civilians, normal car drivers, and also emergency services. There we go. Then small groups are called forward by police, a police officer stationed at the Calais roundabout. You would think the police officer has a better thing to do with their day, but apparently not. One space becomes available at the port for them to enter, so they're ushered in by a police officer. Who knows, this police officer might have been there before all these problems, who knows. According to the National Highways, TAP has been activated 20 times so far this year, compared with 69 times in the whole of 2021. So you can see it's been used way more this year, and it will probably be used way more as traffic picks up. You're talking 20 times in about a month. So it'll probably be used over 100 times this year by the looks of it. The Port of Dover claims the main issue is a rise in freight traffic rather than Brexit. Okay, Port of Dover. The Port of Dover has all the numbers for the HGVs, the amount of HGVs passing through. So I'm sure they're going to release those numbers along with last year's numbers and the years before, so we can actually see what the impacts are like. No, if the Port of Dover are telling the truth, maybe that's what they'll do. The drivers see things differently. Why are the drivers seeing things differently? Very strange. Many blame the introduction of the new import controls from the EU, and the EU haven't implemented anything this year as far as I know of, and the new UK government IT system for goods entering and leaving the country. Controls on imports from the EU. Sorry, I misread that. So it's down to the UK doing import checks and the damned IT systems, GVMS predominantly. Since the 1st of January, I have queued every time in Dover, Ivo. From Calais, it's better. There is only about 2 hours waiting. Imagine coming up with a phrase. Imagine saying, oh yeah, it's better on the other side. I only have to wait 2 hours. That's crazy. Like, normally at most, I think they would have to wait like 20 minutes on a bad day. And now it's, oh yeah, 2 hours on the other side. That's way better than this. Jesus. Time spent queuing in his cab is time that goes unpaid. And it's tragic that the situation is like this, that these guys are waiting. These guys and gals are waiting in their lorry, stuck there for hours and not being paid for it. There are people who say, "Oh, that's the wrong. Lorry drivers are paid for their time, not by kilometre." Which, depending on your contract and how you're employed, I don't think that's the case. It probably depend on the kind of contract they get. Under Ivo's contract, he gets paid by kilometre rather than time spent on the road, and I think these sorts of contracts will have to change for drivers. When out of their vehicles, HGV drivers are easy to spot in Dover. They walk around holding sheaves of paperwork. Do you remember when they said, vote Brexit, get rid of red tape? It's just added a load more. Kieran Donovan, so he tweets a lot about his journey in and around the UK and the EU. A driver based in the UK who regularly travels back and forth to the continent said hold-ups were due to the extra time needed by staff to check the forms, which, again, some people are blaming Brussels for this. I mean, this is Brexit in a nutshell, really. If you look at the border, he's unable to charge his customers for more extended journey times. So if he's stuck there for a few more hours, he can't charge people for that, including the hours spent queuing to reach the port, as he fears they will find another firm to carry their goods. And I don't know if he's more of an expert than I will ever be, but I think there'll be less EU drivers willing to take this route, and I think that might give Kieran a bit more negotiating room. I would have to wait and see for that. Having to sit there in queues for free in order to earn money is soul destroying, Donovan said. Donovan has also been caught out on the other side of the channel when returning to the UK. Last Friday, he was stuck in Calais for 16 hours because he did not receive the paperwork required to enter the UK, and that's not his fault. He's saying, I think the customs agents can't cope. They've got too much work. And, the only people who really benefited from Brexit are customs agents because they're, turning down work. That's how busy they are. And they didn't get his paperwork to him in time. He had to wait 16 hours for them to get it. Again, I'm not going to blame the customs agents for this either, because the simple fact is the workload is massive because of how reliant we are on the Dover-Calais crossing. Even Dominic Raab figured that out. And the government should have done more to actually help with this stuff, but they haven't. Snaking up the A20 on Wednesday, the vehicles were from a host of countries including Ireland, Germany, Poland, Lithuania and Serbia, and I do wonder how much more these drivers will take of this. At what point do they just say it's not worth the money? I'll do a route in the EU, I'll go from France to Germany. Hell, I'll even go to France and Switzerland, which, again, there's a border there, there's a trade border there, but it's way shorter than the one going from Dover to Calais. Doug Bannister, the chief executive of the Port of Dover, said new import controls were partly to blame, along with 25% increase in freight traffic in January compared to last year. Again, have we seen the numbers for this? A 25% increase in freight traffic. Like, he hasn't actually shown us the numbers. I could be wrong, and if he has put out the numbers somewhere, I'll happily accept that. I'll take the L. But is that 25% increase just on last year? What about the year before? How much higher is it than the years 2020, 2019, 2018, like that? Combined with roadworks, so of course roadworks, because Britain's constantly going under roadworks, and 2 of the 12 ferries that serve the port being refitted, which, based on what I've heard from other people, and I can't verify these claims because I haven't seen it published, but we don't see a lot of these problems published. That's the problem. The ferries aren't going off full because there aren't the lorries are taking forever to get to the actual ferry. So it may not even be the case that it's the ferries that are the issue. It's just the border. It's just getting through the border to the ferry seems to be the issue. If folks were expecting the whole trading system to operate after we left the EU as it did before, that's clearly not possible. I mean, sure, unless you lived in Cloud Cuckoo Land and were one of the biggest Brexiteers out there, you wouldn't have believed that's the case, but it shouldn't be as bad as it is now, with people waiting hours upon hours to get through the border, especially since it's easier to get through on the French side than it is on the British side. Why is that? There is increased friction. That is what Brexit is partly about. I mean, that's what Brexit is mainly about. Freight traffic usually begins to climb in mid-January after the Christmas break, but the long tailbacks have been so far seen have been taken many drivers who regularly travel to Dover by surprise. I mean, that's not that surprising, especially the government's bluster about, oh yeah, we're prepared for all this, when we really weren't. Some point to the teething problems for users of the new IT platform GVMS, required removing cargo into or out of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which is causing massive problems. Companies still haven't gotten to grips with this because when it comes to new software, you need practice, and no one actually had any practice time with this. It caused a lot of problems at the start of the year. Right at the start of the year. The Guardian can reveal the GVMS portal, which is responsible for HMRC, was not available to users for 15 minutes on the 31st of January when there was a system outage. Now, these things do happen, but when you have hundreds and thousands of lorries passing through the Dover-Calais crossing, that's going to cause an absolute nightmare for people. 15 minutes is such a long time with so many moving parts, or moving lorries in this case. HMRC spokesperson said the GVMS system and other custom systems are online and working as planned. How can you claim they're working as planned when it's taking, it's taking ages just to assess documents? How can you say it's working to plan? Was it your plan to stuff up the border? Traders and hauliers are adapting very well to the new processes, are they? Because it's taking forever to get through. This will come as a scant consolation for Fernando Naranjo Sanchez, a driver from Sevilla in Spain, who said he had regularly queued for several hours to reach the port in January. Is this working to plan, HMRC? Because according to the lorry drivers, it's not great. The 35-year-old visits Dover 2 or 3 times each month, and I would not be surprised if that number falls further, bringing clothing manufactured in Morocco to the UK. He says, 2 Mondays ago, I was waiting on the A20 for 7.5 hours. He said, it's worse than it used to be. There is more paperwork. 7.5 hours to get through. It's just crazy. And this is, I'm assuming, going from Kent to Dover. Meanwhile, Vitaly Sulha, a driver from Ukraine, said he had been stuck in an 8-hour queue to reach the port in the final week of January. So it's not, teething problems or problems just in the first 2 weeks of January. This is throughout. Haulage firms warn of further hurdles on the horizon when physical controls on the import of EU products and animal and plant origin, which have been delayed several times by the UK, are implemented in July. You've got to think that you would assume that checks in France take longer because they do physical inspections. In the UK, we're not doing them yet until July. It's going to make things far worse. I don't know what more to say. I feel for these drivers. I really do, because I can't imagine being stuck in a lorry for 7.5 hours and not being paid for it. That's not the worst thing about it. I'd say it's probably just being sat there for 7.5 hours, but you're not getting anything out of it. At least if you're being paid, it would help a bit. But they're doing that for free essentially, and it's just not good. It's not good for the drivers. It's not good for manufacturers, haulage companies in general. And I do wonder how much more longer are these drivers going to be going to take this for, and how long until they just say, I ain't going to do this anymore, it's not worth the time. Either you pay me a king's ransom or I'm not going back there, because I'm stuck there waiting for hours upon hours on end because of this damn system. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and we're going to continue to cover this. The government sits idly by, but it's important to bring this stuff to people's to bring this stuff to people, because the simple fact is we're going to see more and more problems when it comes to fresh fruit and things like that. As trade ramps up and the border becomes more of a problem, this is going to impact the ordinary consumer more and more. And the simple fact is, it's horrific what's happening to these drivers. Imagine being sat for 7.5 hours and not, being able to go to the toilet or anything like that as well. It's just an absolute disaster. And why? This Brexit. This further shows you Brexit is one of the dumbest things any country has done, probably in the last 10 years. Any Western country, anyways. Other countries have elected idiots as well, but this whole thing is so stupid, and it's going to cost the country far more than we save, and it's going to cause far more problems for people than any kind of thing it was meant to prevent. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.